Hello everyone, this is the Flower Developer Commentary. This is that game company. I'm Jiro Chen, Creative Director, and with me is Matt Nava, our Art Director for Flower.
Hello.
Nick Clark, the lead designer.
Hello.
And John Edwards, the lead engineer.
Hello.
And our composer, Vincent Diamante.
Hi.
Flower is the second game we made in the 3-game deal with PlayStation Network. And I would say, unlike Flow, which was our very first title, there's a lot of learning. Flower is really kind of the real first product, which we get to create something completely new. Flow originally had a student project, so we're kind of like doing a remake of the game. And Flower is something we created from the ground up.
What was the inspiration for this idea for you?
So yeah, actually, Flower is somewhat related to a personal event I had while I was driving from Los Angeles to the Bay Area, and on the way I saw these green grass fields, which I can talk a little bit later once we're in the game.
All right.
Right now, the game starts in an apartment.
This is the wrong controller.
Oh, there we go.
Uh-oh.
What should we do, Randall?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, Matt, can you talk about this room a little bit?
Sure. So the room is kind of very dark and very the opposite of the game world in the beginning of the game, and my friend Thomas Yamaoka painted these images, and I think he did a really great job. It's fun because we had to work with the limitations of our technology and really get these kind of parallax effects and stuff all through a lot of cool painting tricks and things like that. So it's a fun thing to work on.
All right, let's try this game out here.
So the menu is actually somewhat difficult to. You have to hold
Don't forget to
any
hold it
button.
down.
It's up to you to choose which button.
I choose X.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, the menu could be a little bit more streamlined. So a lot of people think these are like loading scenes, but these actually kind of tell some of a story or a narrative through. Like each level has a little cutscene before it to get you in the mood for that level. And so this one's supposed to be like sort of cognitive dissonance, I guess, or like set you up for the peacefulness you're about to experience.
When I first started working with that game company, I came in to do a playtest of Flower that they had so far, and this was the first image that I saw. And I realized at that point that these guys were doing something completely different than the rest of the industry. And I was like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah, so back to my experience in driving on the I-5 freeways. To the side, there's these endless green grass rolling hills. It almost looks like the Windows wallpaper. And like growing up in Shanghai, which is kind of like a metropolitan city, my entire life I've never seen this many green together, and so it was very overwhelming. And I was trying to capture that feeling just so I can share with my buddies back in Shanghai. But I realized that to really feel that you are in the middle of the nature, just taking a photo is not enough, because in the nature you're surrounded by by the green grass and waving wind. It's a kind of surround experience. It's 360 degree, but any photo can't capture the whole experience. So and I was thinking, is there a way we can using an interactive experience to capture not only just the vastness of the nature, but also get you intimate, close encounter, with the grass and the flower and nature. So we're talking about, in the game, we want to be able to see, individual grass blades, individual petals of flowers. And that's kind of how we started the project.
I remember what happened the first meeting we had about the game. You came with a slideshow, PowerPoint deck, and it was just like 50 pictures of flowers, basically, just all these images. And that was kind of a game design document for this game.
Yeah, at the time I was looking on Flickr, and I was searching for various nature-related photos, but I realized a lot of people take flower close-up photos. Like, no matter how old they are, what gender they are, it seems like people are always fascinated making these macro, kind of microscopic reviews of the flower. And there's got to be something there that's a universal kind of thing that's going on. But I don't know what that is. And so John, Nick, and Martin at the time were working on some early prototypes.
It took us 14 or 15 months to figure out what the actual gameplay would be related to flowers. It was a very difficult task to make a compelling gameplay experience out of this content.
What were some of the attempts?
One prototype was you had to stay alive by collecting these petals, and when you were flying over a barren landscape, you'd be like dropping them, slowly dying, and then kind of like a timer or something.
Didn't that section have a desert?
Yeah, right. You start off in
like
like a green grassland, and you had to survive the desert. We had like
journey.
Combo mechanics with collecting flowers. We had like growing flower mechanics where you like tried to grow weird flower tree things. I don't know.
Wasn't there one called First Person Thinker?
Yeah, that was like one of the very first things we did was you controlled like a camera or like a mind or something. You just looked at things and things would happen. Which is cool.
That's pretty out there, dude.
Yeah, at the time, we were trying to capture that experience, being, being there, interacting with nature. We really couldn't see how a conventional avatar of a character being there. It's you and the nature. So, first person is like our initial reaction. We were thinking about maybe you can do a camera control. You're basically a camera or just like observer of nature. But very quickly, what we thought will work when the playtesters will come in and they're just controlling the camera, they just couldn't grasp the concept. And then we talk about what can be the avatar. We talk about a flower petal or maybe a seed that's blowing the wind. By the way, this is secret flowers. There should be a trophy for that.
Keep going, John.
Thanks, guys.
We did many prototypes, gameplay prototypes, trying to discover what was a satisfying gameplay experience. So here we've activated what we call the landing zone, which was the end of the level.
So initially we have this logic. You want to collect flowers and you want to collect as many as possible so you can create this big explosion of nature in the end. But for the final game, it didn't become that gamey. It's not really about collecting the resources or figuring out a puzzle. We wanted to just kind of deliver a feeling that you're really kind of being in the nature and creating positive influence to the world around you. So that particular collecting mechanics, in the end, just it's more of a representation than anything. Oh, actually, before we enter, you can notice the room actually change after each level. it reflects the kind of the desire and the theme of each flower. And so coming up the next one, you can see the room is black and white. I mean the previous one.
Yeah.
And then if you enter the flower, you can see a kind of associated video that express what the flower desire is about.
What does this flower desire from that video?
Well, each flower kind of have a unique desire related to the city. I guess, if you didn't grow up in the city, you probably can't really relate. But that one is particularly about the lack of color and the grayness of the concrete modern cities. And, like in its dream, as the player, you are delivering colors to the world.
Later in this level, you actually can paint the grass various colors. This was a fun level to color because the first level was green and very true to real grass, but in this level we choose all kinds of reds and purples and yellows, and it really starts to become a lot more visually abstract or interesting. Here it looks like painted grass. I made the tips of the grass red and the roots green, so it looks like someone had gone through with a brush and just painted the tips of the grass.
What's really interesting to me is looking at our rendering of the game. Like, the game still looks really good, but it's also interesting to see like the improvements we've been able to make in Journey compared to this game, and building off of what we've learned during development of Flower.
My memory of flower development was early on, because I think a lot of the designs were sort of so image based. There was this really strong focus on the tech side of just getting kind of something rendering, something evocative rendering. And we did a bunch of different prototypes. We tried out maybe half a dozen or a dozen different things we could focus on, like bushes and flowers and other things. And eventually we discovered grass and just kind of ran with that. And it was, wow, nice camera. It was
Yeah, totally left the camera.
as you can see. But we figured that out very early on, and so the game actually kind of looked like this from very early in development. But we still had no idea what the gameplay was going to be, which made me quite nervous.
Yeah, so we had, like for almost 12 months, we don't know what the game is, what the player are playing. Because there's just simply not a game we can really say, hey, that is a reference we can just draw from the gameplay. And we've been looking for a gameplay that makes people feel relaxed and peaceful being in the nature, rather than like very excited, heart-pounding action. But we still wanted to feel satisfying and rewarding. And then it was during, the middle of the development, one day, Vincent, who has created a particular music, and it works really well with the sound of the flower that we're touching, and it's almost forming its own music. And I feel like by playing the game, I'm kind of performing the instrument. I'm making a performance, and you can see this particular part is also very good. I really like the music and how it's interacting with the sound of the flowers.
Yeah, this stage's music is actually pretty interesting, because it's the first piece of music that uses the final version of the whole interactive music system, where the music actually communicates with the sound effects and tells the sound effect what chord is actually being played at the time. So the sound effects actually knows how to do a little melodic riff on top of the music. And so this was the first one, and then everything else really built on top of what was started in this piece.
Yeah, and as the player kind of flies through the field, seeing the flower bloom and grass grow, and the music just continue building, it's this really strong sense of some kind of positive transformation, and that's really the moment where we realized this is something that could actually work. I remember that day I was showing the game to George, the designer from Sony, who helped us a lot on Flow, and he was playing it, and he felt that drawing motion as well, and we were like so excited and hugged. A man hug. It's like, we got it. We know what to do with the game. It was so exciting.
Before that, do you remember the prototype where you could cast spells?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for quite a long time, we don't know what the gameplay is, and so we were getting feedback saying, hey, this game is not fun enough. Can we add more challenge to the game? And we tried a lot, but the problem with challenge is if you make the challenge too hard, people start to curse, which doesn't quite work with the style and the peaceful nature of the game. And if you make the challenge just about right, and people like really kind of overcome the challenge, they're almost too excited about it, and sometimes they also curse. And in the end, we realized, particularly through developing the Flower game, challenge doesn't always help in terms of communicate certain type of emotions. And so this is the game where we actually really kind of try to do something different, where we actually resisted our kind of basic instinct about what makes the game fun, but rather we stay to what the game is trying to communicate. Is this feeling of giving love and life to make the world better, and that really kind of in the end become alive out of its own. Like we're listening to the game, what the game wants, and that's really kind of a very unique situation to be in designing a game, what the game actually speaks to.
Didn't you sort of really push for this color changing mechanic, Nick? Is that you?
Maybe.
So yeah, I have this memory because we had been spending so long trying to just figure out what the game was. It was actually kind of a little bit tight at the end to just finish everything. And I feel like, this is one of those mechanics where we tried it out and everyone thought it would be interesting to incorporate somewhere where you could paint the grass, but we just never really finalized it, and I think it was sort of just pushed into the game by Nick. Yeah.
You can colorize the grass with the type of color you pick up from the
Well, I
skull.
think I remember one concern was there wouldn't be enough depth for players who were looking for that type of thing in the game, like not enough hidden features or discoverable abilities or for the explorer types of players. So we really wanted something beyond just the surface level, okay, you've unlocked this area type of progression. So I think the color thing is cool. I wish we had more things like that.
This was fun to design this shot because it was the first one where I got to throw a rainbow in.
Could be many more.
Yeah, and rainbows I like rainbows. I threw some in at the end of Journey too. I hope that you guys saw those.
There's actually a rainbow color at the end of Flow.
Oh really?
I think it was thrown by George.
The rainbow particles.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Oh, Matt, can you talk about the type of flowers? I'm actually curious about it because I never asked during the development.
Yeah.
Like, why do you pick certain flower type for certain colors?
Well, I looked at a whole lot of flowers images when I was working on this game to figure out which kind of flower would be best for each level, but in the end I kind of designed my own flowers based on a combination of various types. And like this one's interesting actually because it's kind of curled in a spiral, and you'll see in a moment it unfurls in an interesting way and kind of relates to this particular level.
So this is what we call the heat level, in a summer day, in a lot of the major city, because the giant skyscrapers, it's kind of like windless and it's really hot. And the desire is if you can bring motion and breeze into the city, that would be awesome. And in the game, you can see the this spiral kind of wind flower opening.
So yeah, those they kind of spin open, and whenever you touch them, you go flying really fast, like a burst of wind. And
So what we actually did there is you throw the player kind of we guide the player towards the flowers in front when you hit those boost flowers, I guess is what we call them.
Yeah.
So there's some gameplay assist to make it feel better.
designing the flowers in this game was fun, but also a challenge because the particular way they were implemented was all through code. So I couldn't just create them visually. I had to type in, okay, I want to have 5 petals, and I want them to uncurl at this speed and things like that. So it was definitely a learning experience.
Much more efficient, I think. Yeah.
Right. That's another way of putting it, I guess.
We actually had a lot of debate about the windmills. We saw the windmill as some kind of like, kind of like a man-made object that looks like flower. That is kind of like, at the time we think the windmill is this kind of beautiful thing, but a lot of people started questioning, is windmill good? And then power line, which later shows up in the game, bad. Are we trying to make a statement? Are you eco-terrorist? Like a lot of people start to questioning during the game, and so, and particularly now that knowing more about the windmills, they're not all that great.